Hello and welcome to Headline Reviews here on Afro Connect TV. Like you already know, this is one program where we bring to you select national dailies and make them our center of focus. I am Godwin Sunday. Of course, I'm not doing this alone. I'm doing this with my colleague Chinatu and Adewale. Good morning, Chinatu.
Good morning, Godwin. It's good to be. Always a pleasure to be here, especially seeing all that's happening in this country.
With these smiles, I can't agree less. Wale, good morning.
Exactly. Good morning to you and good morning to Nigerians around the world, anywhere they are around the world, for joining us today on the program. It's always interesting to go through the stories together and see what we can do to, looking at the stories that are shaping our world, stories that are particularly shaping Nigeria, to see what we can do justice to that this morning.
Yeah, Wale. So let's get to it right away. Wale, what's going on from the Punch this morning?
Yeah, we're starting off today with the Punch newspaper. 16 governors back state police submit reports to federal government. 16 state governors have submitted reports expressing their support for establishing state police to the National Economic Council. They also recommended changes to the constitution to allow for the creation of state police, according to a statement signed by SA to the Vice President on Media and Communication. NEC is still awaiting reports from 20 states. It expressed confidence that others would support. However, no details were given about the specific state. The Vice President's spokesperson had affirmed that a total number would be presented at the next NEC meeting, even as the compilation is still going on. This week has been filled with one security issue or another. Now we have 16 states governors submitting. We do not know which of the governors are submitted. That hasn't been disclosed to us yet. But we have these governors submitting their reports to the National Executive Council to see what they can do differently and how they can implement this policy of state policing, make it into a law, because it's not in our constitution for states to have their own security outfit. So the law has to be changed. So I think this is the right step in the right direction, looking at the killing of the soldiers in Okoma community in Delta State. Soldiers are not supposed to be responding to things like that. We have internal security outfit that should be able to respond to things like that, so we don't have people to die in such regard. But I think this is a step in the right direction. We're expecting other governors, other 20 governors to do so.
I totally agree, especially because we're talking about it yesterday and we understood how there is urgent need for communities at the local level, at the state level, to have their own internal security. Because like I was emphasizing, the security situation happens right with the people. And so you don't have to wait for, okay, you need to wait for federal government to do this. Or sometimes we see how response can get very slow. So you don't have to wait for the powers that be to decide. If something happens, who is the person you call first? So I want other state governors to, take this and run with it. We want police, we want security outfits in as little as a community. I know we have vigilante groups, we have the JTCs, the Joint Task Force everywhere, but then we want it to be enshrined in the law so that we know that, yes, this is now legal, this is what we work with, and then, security outfits can now come together and provide the accurate security that the country needs.
Chinatu, when Wale said that he doesn't know the governors per se, but I know one governor that must be championing this cause, and that should be the governor of Kaduna State, because he has been on the news of late. And so looking at the numbers right now, I think that the numbers keep rising. It's touching all states right now. We hope to see that the federal government work on this and put structures together. Like you said, it's the right step in the right direction.
In the right direction, but also I think we need to look at, of course, putting the constitution together. It would help to propel us in the right direction of what we can do differently. Let us look at other countries that have the same system working seamlessly for them. Their communities, just like she mentioned, that have their own policing structure. Their states, their cities that have their own policing structures. So how can we make sure they work seamlessly from the states, from the federal to the states, to the local governments, to the community policing? How can we have that chain of command? Just as we mentioned yesterday, the state governor is the chief executive officer of his own state or her state. Should we have a female governor soon? So we need to enact that law and make it work for us.
Most definitely, Wale. But I'm looking at the timing also for that law. If it's the timing for us is right at this moment, looking at Nigeria,
introducing it into the
yes,
National Assembly,
so we can
go through all the process.
Security is a crucial issue.
It is, and I think it will have to prioritize.
The timing, is it right for Nigerians to go into this particular?
Security is an urgent issue.
It has always been an urgent issue across Nigeria, but
okay.
then looking at it at this timing, at this time where we have a lot of political gladiators distributing powers to themselves, wouldn't there be a total abuse?
Exactly. That's why I think while putting the law together, there should be some. I mean, in some countries, we can have the federal government federalize state security architecture. Should the governor want to do things that are beyond his constitutional right, you can have the federal government federalize his state policing and take control of it. So I think that chain of command, we should have that here in Nigeria. So we can't have anybody abuse the power or secede from the country because they have their own security architecture that bear arms. We were talking about the JTF, the Joint Task Force, and also the vigilantes yesterday. Most of them do not bear arms. Especially the vigilantes do not bear arms. So it's really impeding.
They go with firewood.
So it's really impeding what they can do and the level of success that they can achieve. They're doing a lot fantastically so far.
Well, if we continue with this story, we might not leave here today. So let's
Exactly.
move on to...
We'll leave it to the neck and to the National Assembly
So
to
let's
do
move
that.
on to daily trust at the moment, where the Naira is appreciated by... Surprisingly, the Naira is appreciated. Wow. Let's do the local currency continued on a recovery note on Thursday, with Naira appreciating significantly against the dollar on the strength of recent interventions by the Central Bank of Nigeria. From 1,536 Naira in the previous day, the Naira appreciated to 1,382 Naira to a dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market. The first time in a long while that the local currency would record such a massive gain. This was coming 24 hours after the Central Bank of Nigeria announced it had cleared $7 billion valid foreign exchange claims while increasing the country's forex exchange and reserves. Well, let's delve into this. Firstly, the Naira all through last week has been on a slow rise. But all of a sudden, we're seeing the Naira picking up. Naira picked up from about 1,006 last week, and right now it has reduced to 1,500. So we're looking at least...
And even further, 1,383
if the Naira is going by like this, the way it stands right now, there's one guarantee that the Naira is going to hit probably 800 by next week. So let's just keep our fingers crossed.
So that's very optimistic.
Yeah, but I'm positive about this report because looking at the way the Naira is dropping geometrically, it's just going boom, boom. So I think at this point in time, we should give kudos to the Nigerian government for
already. So looking at all of that, all those measures, all those monetary policy and other measures that are putting in place, I think it is boosting our economy. It is boosting confidence from international and local investors into the Nigerian economy. And also it makes it easy for anybody coming to Nigeria to come and do a business. You don't know whether you change your money today and the next few hours is going to change to something else. And I think it was part of President Bola Tinubu's campaign that is going to stabilize the Naira and is going to make it something that we can spend outside the country. Because it becomes very hard to go to other countries and you want to exchange the Naira for. It's not even valued. The value drops.
Drastically.
But
I think they're doing something.
But while looking at this, Chinatu, I think it's a deliberate wickedness. If the Naira can be reduced ever since, the dollar can be reduced ever since, and it was not done, and it's just been... If we can inject Chinatu, look at this. Let's see this from another light.
Well, if you ask me that question, who will I ask?
I think we have to ask the central bank, and I think that's the beauty. Just to, reiterate that's the beauty of democracy.
Yes.
When we have some people in governance and they're doing things in a certain way that they feel is right, but we're not seeing the dividends of that, then we change the government, we change the people that are in position of power, get fresh ideas, let new people come in.
That's exactly
and that's what we're seeing now.
Democracy, for God's sake. That's exactly why we have democracy. So if you can't handle a job, if you know that this can be fixed, why elongate the process? Why allow us suffer? I think that's the question. But if you ask me if we could do it since, why are we doing it now? The question is not for me.
Yeah.
Well, like you've said, if you ask me, who will I ask? So I'm not the central bank governor, and I won't speak on his behalf. I'm not his mouthpiece. But Chinatu, what do you have on the sun for us this morning?
Yes, from the Tribune, actually.
My sincere apologies.
So we have a good news. I think we've really been having good news this morning.
I think it's a week of good news.
Good news,
yes.
Because a lot of
It
good
didn't
news
really
coming
start
in.
like good news, but I think we
Yeah.
are getting in shape now. We have the Nigerian content creators to earn through Facebook and Instagram. This has been a long cry. We've seen a long time coming. I mean, it's been a long time coming. But seeing that it's already going to happen in June, then it makes a lot of sense. So the parent company of Instagram is set to launch a new feature on its Instagram and Facebook app come June 2024. And the feature aims to empower Nigerian creators to monetize their content and earn a livelihood through the platforms. Meta's President of Global Affairs, Nick Clegg, announced this following a meeting with President Tinubu at the presidential villa earlier. And Clegg, in his remarks, appreciated the president for facilitating an executive order that's crucial to land Meta-backed deep-sea infrastructure in Nigeria. Like I said, this is a very good news. We have plenty creatives in Nigeria. And it's really been sad that that creativity has not really been appreciated. We see people create content and they only have to rely on arts, to make money. Meanwhile, in other climes, people are making money off social media. And now we are seeing that in Nigeria now we'll have people who create content. So those, okay, I know that YouTube, you can make money from YouTube, but Instagram and Facebook, as long as you're in Nigeria, your account is restricted. But seeing this, it means that, okay, the president is working and he's listening to the cry of the young people, because there've been a lot of clamoring online, people complaining. And sometimes, I mean, a lot of young people even had to create accounts using other country. How do I put that now? I mean, they had to sort of affiliate with other countries just so that they can earn. And you cannot pay creativity by exposure. It's not enough. So these people had to survive with just ads. And if the ads don't come, what do you do? But I'm very excited now that we have content creators who would start earning from their creativity. Don't you think this is good news, Godwin?
It's not good news, Chinatu. The only good news that we'll say that will make this a good news for us right now is if there can be a backlog of the payment. Yes, now if there can be backlog of this payment, because we've had creatives in Nigeria ever since that have been making money for Instagram and other socials.
Yeah.
And when it comes to registration and getting paid for your creativity, most of them are just left hanging. So if I've gotten about 2 million followers and I've gotten the blue badge for more than 2 years, and I'm not getting a dime. The only thing I enjoy from being from Facebook and Instagram is just an influencer. And sometimes as an influencer, you might just go broke and stay broke for a very long time.
And nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Because we have to do packaging. So at this point in time, we're asking, can they backlog the payment? People let's take it, if you're going to approve it by June, you're going to put it in place by June, why don't we backlog the payment? And say, okay, from June last year, if you have the blue badge, you offset it, even if it's $1 Chinatu. Let them at least get. That's about.
I feel like that's going to be a lot of process, but I mean, starting now to do this, I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would agree that it makes a lot of sense, but we should also, just like Godwin has said, can we have a backlog of payment for them? But if I would speak in defense, not in speaking in their defense or speaking from their own.
You work with Facebook, so what's my own?
But the decision has been made now. Yeah. We should appreciate it. If you look at the Nigerian internet community, we have one of the largest in the world presence on the internet, and Facebook and Instagram, of course, the Meta company has been one of the Nigeria's go-to place to stay on social media and to do their thing. And looking at the creative industry alone in Nigeria, it's the biggest in Africa.
Currently,
we have our people going all over to other countries. If not the biggest in the world, we have our people going to other countries and they're being appreciated for what they do. So I think, just like she mentioned, YouTube has been paying a lot of people in Nigeria, and we've had this restriction for a number of years, a long time. We've had these restrictions imposed on us as a country. And I think it begs the question of why has that lasted for so long? But also looking at this, that we've been able to achieve this, can we then talk about the role of the government in making sure lives are better for the people in the country? President Tinubu, I would actually commend him for this action, because it's not only to go to the National Assembly and say, I remember Femi Gbajabiamila was saying the internet is becoming a menace, we need to have laws,
You have to
have
sanitize. You need to sanitize the system.
we need to make sure that we have laws that are backing social media bill at the National Assembly and all of that. So it's not only about restricting people there. Are you making sure that Nigerians are getting the value, just like people in Britain, just like people in Europe, just like people in North America are getting the same value from the same company? And we've been getting it differently for this number of years. What can we do differently? I think from here we should begin to look at other platforms as well. That how can we make it pay our citizens? How can we make it benefit us as a country?
Well, in addition, I think at this point in time, if President Tinubu will or can for him, he should also look at the telecommunication sector also. When we have network glitch, I think some persons should be sanctioned for that.
Exactly.
Because we've had situations where people just go scot-free.
yeah.
You want to call somebody for the whole day, you can't reach that particular, and it's worrisome.
It is.
If you can access Facebook and also get them to pay, I think some form of compensation should be given if there's a network glitch from any of the telecommunication companies, some of us should get paid.
And I think it speaks a lot about the consumer right.
Yeah.
Because we're all consumers of all these products, whether or not we're physically consuming it or we're paying our data to be there. We're all end users of all these products, and we have rights as citizens of a country, and our country must make sure that those rights are protected by these companies. You cannot have companies lord over citizens or lord over people because they are situated in other countries that they feel untouchable. So we've had all that conversation surrounding consumer rights and how can people benefit the same way other countries are benefiting from the same product or from the same service.
Yeah, well, now that you spoke about consumer rights, it just made me remember that we have Servicom. So the question now should be, how effective is the Servicom industry? What are they doing?
What are they doing?
Are they taking things seriously? Do we just report and then the report just pile up and then at the end of the day it's passed to,
I think the question we should start from is how many Nigerians know that Servicom exists?
And do they even report? Because I know somebody said one time that she might report to Servicom, but what will they do? And I told her, have you tried to report? Because it's one thing to say you report, and it's another to not report at all.
The awareness has to be created.
So I think more awareness has to be created. Nigerians need to be aware of their rights as citizens of the country, of their consumers' rights as users of the country.
I'm not saying na God go help us.
Yes.
Let's move on.
Yeah,
let's
just move on to another story. This one we're taking from the Punch News. I beg your pardon. This one we're taking from the Sun newspaper. The United States government has partnered Nigeria, among others, to unveil a 5-year global food security strategic country plan to boost the country's agricultural sector and drive agro-economic growth. David Green, the U.S. Embassy's charge of affairs, while unveiling the strategy in Abuja, said it exemplified the U.S. government's commitment to resolving the present issue of food security in Nigeria. According to the envoy, the U.S. government will, through the strategy, build sustainable food system, promote innovation, and advance streets to break the vicious cycle of poverty and hunger in Nigeria. Furthermore, he said the country plan had adopted a market system approach to achieve 3 overarching goals, which included increasing the productivity and competitiveness of horticulture, maize, and rice value chains. Looking at the food security in Nigeria, we've had this conversation at this table for several times that a lot of Nigerians
has been championing that conversation.
A lot of Nigerians
you are the forefront of the forefront when it comes to food.
The advocate of the poor people.
Yeah.
But we've had this conversation, and I think this is a step in the right direction. Just like you said, we've had many interesting news this morning, and I think this is on top of that we have the United States partner. The United States is one of the largest producers of agriculture. Agriculture has a huge chunk in one of the United States exported products to the world. So I think this is a step in the right direction that we can have this partnership to see how can it work for us as a country. How can we move away from this vicious cycle of poverty and hunger in the country.
We really just want to see this work. This is good. We have the partnership. But we have all of these things. When I saw the U.S. is partnering with Nigeria, I was like, we didn't even need this partnership in the first place because we have these resources. So if it looks like we now need to, partner with outsiders, in quotes, to make things better in our agriculture, in our food sector, then perfect. But we want to see that this happens. We want to see that people do not go to bed hungry anymore. We don't want to see out of school children begging anymore because there is no food. So if the partnership is going to bring that difference, then let it make that actual difference, not just on paper. Let it be done.
For me, anything that will make us not to import food, that will make us not to open our borders to bring in food, that will ensure that Nigeria will have self-sufficiency when it has to do with food supply. Wale, I'm in full support of it.
But you know,
But I think just like I share your optimism, but I also share in our concerns as well that we've had this several partnerships or several collaboration with different companies, different countries, and all we see is the paper being signed, but the implementation is another concern. Implementation is another question.
That's been like a Nigerian factor. We don't get implementation.
Wale, I really want to ask, do you think that we need this partnership for us to even survive?
I think it speaks of us as people who haven't... Partnerships are important. We cannot deny that. But of course, I share your concern in understanding that if a country as small as Israel can produce enough food to feed its citizen and also export to other countries, Nigeria has
everything.
Multiple resources.
The challenge for this...
multiple resources that dwarfs the resources Israel can ever have. But I think it speaks a little bit about our leadership itself in the agricultural sector. Look at the agricultural ministry itself. What have we done differently? We give loans to small-scale farmers. We give grants. We give fertilizers and all of that. No. We need to begin to look at things in different ways. How can we begin to look at mechanized farming and looking at things in the broader sense and not just giving people in Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, all over Nigeria? What can we do differently? We have cocoa, we have wheat, we have all different parts of the country. We have different things that can grow in different parts of the country. We need to implement, we need to make sure that that is working for us. I think cocoa is where we can actually begin. But that's a conversation.
Why would cocoa be part of what we begin with?
Because cocoa we used to serve us as our first ever revenue in this country. The cocoa house in Ibadan was built.
I know you will call Ibadan. I just know you're going to Ibadan.
The cocoa house in Ibadan was built from the cocoa revenue that we got from the country. But we've neglected that. Our palm oil industry, we have Malaysia taking over that and exporting palm oil over the world. We're not doing that. We have cassava. We have a lot of things that we can make sure that we are importing. We're no longer importing into the country. Exactly, and that's a conversation we need to have holistically, not by signing documents.
We are self-sufficient again. You just went back to what I said earlier. We do not need all of this. We can't do it on our own. But if we are going to partner, then let it be done.
The special advisor to the governor on the president of food matters has spoken. Well, at this point, let's just look at what the Premium Times has for us this morning. Where Governor Oti, another good news, Governor Oti has signed into law bill cancelling pension for Abia governors and deputies in the state. Well, this is quite interesting. But for the first time, we're getting, if you're a governor, you finish serving your tenure, you're as good as gone. They will remove you from the system. This is a way to checkmate the excesses when it has to do with financial abuse, even within the governmental space. So if you serve your tenure, you get paid for that period, or they give you some remuneration, then you're good. I think this is good for Abia State. It will help them to save more.
I think other states should take cue from what Abia State is doing.
I wish I can say the same.
Should take cue from what Abia State is doing, because I think we need this right now in our country. A lot of people are suffering. Nigerians are barely eating 3 square meals a day. And we're talking about reduction of cost of governance. We saw yesterday that the president said he's going to limit the travel of his ministers and other MDA heads for foreign trips. Public funded foreign trips has been limited. There's a ban on it for 3 months. So we need interventions such as this. As a governor, you've served the country for 4 years, or rarely do they serve for 4 years. They always go for the second time, 8 years. And you've had all these resources, you've had all this benefits all over the years, and we still have, the state has to continue to pay you until you die. I think that's very absurd to take it to state
the obvious. To state the
obvious. I'm looking for a more subtle word to give to them. But thank you for that. But I think other states needs to take you from that to say, well, how can we reduce the cost of governance? Because I think that is where this is tilting towards. How can we make sure that we are not overspending in places where we're not supposed to spend and prioritize the people's needs.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, leadership is about stewardship. You shouldn't see it as an opportunity to embezzle funds, get your pocket richer, and then the state becomes poorer and in debt. That's not what we want. So I'm lauding Governor Alex Otti for doing this. It's highly recommendable. Another state should copy.
I thought you wanted to say you're loving it. It's fair. This is how far we can go today on the show Headline Reviews. I want to say thank you so much, Wale and Chinatu, for being a part of today's show.
I can't wait for tomorrow.
Well, I can't wait for Monday.
For Monday, see, I got carried away.
Well, viewers, this is how far we can go today on the show. I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show. Till we'll come your way again, same time, same station on Monday. I want to say from all of us here in the studio, it's bye for now.